My husband betrayed me with my childhood rival, now he's begging for mercy, she's disowned, and I'm holding all the cards. My name is Amara, and until a week ago, I thought my life was perfect. I didn't think it was the best in the world or without problems, but it was very good. To me, good enough is perfect, because, as you'll see in a moment, life can get worse very quickly. The person who has caused me so much pain is my husband Alex, whom I've been married to for 2 years. Before all of this, I was very happy with him, and we rarely had problems. He was a good boyfriend and an even better husband, which made me feel confident that I'd be with him until one of us passed away. But it turns out, I was the only one who believed we were meant to be together, because my husband clearly thinks he has the right to have other relationships. I don't mean that seriously, what I mean is that, obviously, he's kept what he's been doing a secret, and I only found out by accident. Believe me, I love my husband a lot and haven't given him any reason to cheat on me. I thought we were both very happy in our marriage, and since we both earn well, we also didn't have financial problems. So the question on my mind now is he doing this because he wants some excitement in his life, or is he truly bored of me? I don't know, it's something only he can answer. Before explaining further, I need to tell you about someone important to this story, Cassie. Cassie is someone you might call my childhood friend. She's someone I've known since I was a kid, and sometimes we still hang out together occasionally. But all of this isn't by choice, because, honestly, I don't like her much. Yes, she's one of the most jealous and petty people I've ever met. The surprising part is that she's always been like this. From the moment I understood what good friends and bad friends were, I knew she was almost someone I didn't need to keep close. So I've always kept her at a distance, while she's always tried to get closer to me. The problem with her was that she was always jealous of a lot of people, and showed that envy even toward me. She always wanted what I had, and couldn't stand seeing me get something better than her. She was bad at hiding her emotions, and always got mad when I asked her to stop doing those things. Now, I know the most obvious question here, right? If I had so many problems with her from the start, why is she still my friend? Well, the answer, guys, is very simple. At some point, I realized she was a toxic friend who would worsen my life, but I could never completely cut her off. That's because her parents and mine have been friends for a long time, so she's like a family member or a family friend, or even part of my family to my parents. So I couldn't just stop seeing her, because she was always around at gatherings and that sort of thing. I also couldn't tell my parents that I hated her. Sometimes I felt bad because she acted like she genuinely cared, but even though I couldn't cut her off, it wasn't like we had a real friendship. I've never been the kind of person to have many friends, and since she's close to my family, she stayed in my life. Right now, I only have about 3 friends I consider true friends. One of them is my best friend, Molly, who I'll talk about in a moment. As I mentioned, she's pretty much the same person even now, and I just try to avoid her as best as I can. But as you know, since she's almost family, I really can't avoid her. We have a tolerable relationship, but I'm sure she's always been a little jealous of me since I ended up doing bigger and better things in life than she did. To be completely honest with you, yes, I have a better job and got married after finding what I thought was a great man. Meanwhile, she works in a small job and is always in and out of relationships, which isn't surprising if you knew her. I knew she didn't like seeing me do well in life, but I had no idea she was so jealous that she'd try to destroy my marriage or take my place. I'm sure by now you've figured out what's happening, but if you haven't, I discovered that my husband has been cheating on me with Cassie. She's literally the worst person he could have done this with. He's completely ruining our marriage, and I don't know what he or she hopes to gain from this affair. Anyway, let me tell you how I found out. Over the past few months, I've noticed Alex has been a little distant with me. When I asked him, he said there was nothing wrong, that he was just stressed at work. He'd been working a lot and doing overtime occasionally. At first, I was a bit concerned, but aside from his somewhat distant behavior, nothing else happened, so I didn't give it much thought. A week ago, a friend of mine told me that instead of being at work, my husband was sitting in a restaurant almost an hour away from my workplace. My friend called me, thinking I was with him and wanting to meet me. She had no idea what she'd just uncovered for me. I called my husband, who told me he was at work, which made me sure something strange was going on. So I left work and drove to the restaurant. There, I saw him enjoying a date with Cassie. As soon as I saw them, I knew it was a date and not something innocent. They looked way too comfortable together. I couldn't hear what they were talking about, but I took a picture. I thought about confronting them, but I was so shocked that I couldn't do it. I just went back home feeling completely numb. A little later, my husband called me and said he was going to be working late and would get home late. I even called his coworker, who told me he hadn't gone to work that day and had reported being sick. I knew I wasn't a suspicious wife, so I'd never checked where he was going or what he was doing. He used that trust to cheat on me, with the friend I despised the most. The most incredible thing about all of this is that he knew how much I disliked her. Before this, he always told me I was judging her too harshly. I always thought that was a good quality of his. I saw it as him being a kind person, but I guess he always had a soft spot for her. Obviously, after seeing them on a date, I refused to believe what I had witnessed. I tried to come up with as many excuses as I could in my head. I didn't want to face the truth or admit that my marriage was over. Deep down, I knew it, but I wasn't ready yet to tell myself what was really happening. I spent the next few days observing him, hoping to find something that could explain it all, but the only thing I discovered was that they were definitely having an affair. I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't confront him, and I couldn't even look at Cassie. I didn't even want to think about her. All I could think about was how the two of them could do this to me, and how he could so easily throw away everything we had built together. It's not like I had just met Alex yesterday. We'd been married for a while. How could he do this to me? And now, I think I found a way to get some answers. I was so confused that I ended up calling my best friend Molly and told her everything I had seen. Molly came to see me and decided to help me, no matter what I chose to do. She gave me some ideas and they were pretty good, but more than anything, I wanted to confront my husband and just put an end to it all. Molly followed him for 2 days, and yesterday, she told me she saw them entering a hotel. That confirmed it was an affair, and Cassie was so jealous of me that she even went far as taking my husband, but I don't entirely blame her because, if Alex hadn't wanted to cheat on me, she couldn't have made it happen. If he were truly loyal, he would have been faithful to me no matter what. While I was trying to figure out what to do, Molly gave me an idea. She suggested that since we didn't know enough about the affair, we should start gathering information and evidence. Molly suggested installing hidden cameras and audio recorders, which would help us find out what they really wanted and how I could move forward. It was a great suggestion, because we both thought that Cassie or Alex might be after something more than just an affair, so I agreed to her plan, even though it meant I'd have to put up with Alex and Cassie a little longer. At this point, I want revenge for what they've done to me. Today we installed the hidden cameras and audio recorders, and hopefully, by the end of next week, we'll have plenty of information. Despite agreeing to do this, I still can't accept the fact that my husband is cheating on me with someone like Cassie. I still don't know why he did it. I don't know if I'm making the right choice by going down this path. Am I making the right decision, or should I just confront them and expose them once I have enough evidence? Please, I'm begging you. I need your help. Update 1. It's been more than a week since my last update, and I was wrong to doubt whether I was doing the right thing. You see, Molly was right, and I'm so thankful I decided to gather evidence first. I thought that after what Alex had done, it couldn't get any worse, but after what I heard a few hours ago, he somehow managed to make it even worse. I can't believe I married someone like him. As I mentioned last time, I set up the cameras and audio recorders, and only reviewed the material today. All week, I did my best to act normal. Molly has been a great help, especially when I was so broken that pretending to be okay felt impossible. Alex acted like he didn't care about what he was doing, but unlike him, my love for him couldn't die overnight. It was so hard to watch him leave for work, knowing he was going to see her and sleep with her constantly. I can't even describe how difficult it was not to slap him for betraying me like this. 2 days ago was especially hard because I had to see both of them in the same room. My parents were celebrating their anniversary and, of course, invited Cassie and her parents. As soon as we arrived, Cassie jumped up and hugged both of us. I couldn't help but notice the way she and Alex looked at each other. I cursed myself for not realizing anything for months. When I talked to Cassie, it took every ounce of strength not to grab her and scream at her for ruining my life by sleeping with my husband. But, I held back and managed to get through the evening. Cassie didn't show even a hint of remorse. She didn't even pretend to feel guilty when she talked to me about Alex. It was as if she didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt for what she had done. She even openly joked about how handsome she found him. Everyone else took it as a compliment, but I knew the truth. Somehow, I survived the party, but it was the worst night of my life. Every second felt like an eternity, and I couldn't wait to leave. After that, I counted down the days until I could finally listen to what had been happening in my own home. When the moment finally came, I almost regretted it. I told myself that maybe I should have kicked Alex out immediately because what I discovered made everything worse. I couldn't listen to it alone, so I invited Molly over for support. We listened to different parts, and what we discovered left me speechless. The affair had been going on for nearly a year, and it was serious. Yes, my husband is seriously involved with my jealous friend Cassie, and he's even planning to leave me for her. Although Cassie claims she wants the same thing, Molly suspects Cassie is only using him to ruin my life, which is unbelievable. But then we discovered something even more shocking. Not only is Alex cheating on me and planning to run away with Cassie, but he also wants to take something from me first, the house. The reason he hasn't broken up with me yet is because he wants to take the house we live in. The house was actually a gift from my grandmother before she passed away over a year ago. After getting married, I moved in, and it's a big house that would fetch a good price if sold. So his plan is to trick me into giving him the house, sell it, and then start a new life with Cassie. When I heard this, I could hardly believe it. Not only was he leaving me heartbroken, but he was planning to deceive me into handing over something precious, something that belonged to my family, just to fund his new life with her. This confirmed to me that the man I fell in love with was gone. The Alex I married must have disappeared a long time ago. I had tears in my eyes when I found out, and Molly helped me calm down. But then, my sadness turned into rage. Did they think they could play me like a fool? I've decided I'm not going to confront Alex, at least not yet. Instead, I'm going to give him a taste of his own medicine. Now, I have no doubts about what I must do. I need to get revenge on both of them for what they've done to me. They're going to regret ever messing with me. Update 2. Yes, it's me again, and it's been a while since I last updated. So much has happened. Alex has fallen into the trap, and right now, I'm just waiting for him to make his next move. I think it's going to happen in just a few days, and when it does, he'll realize he made the biggest mistake of his life by cheating on me. And don't worry, Cassie isn't getting away with it either. She's going to get what she deserves too. Alex waited about a month to bring up the house, and when he finally did, I acted as surprised as I could. I made sure not to give him any clue that I already knew what he was plotting, and I made him believe that my performance was genuine. Honestly, I was willing to wait as long as it took, because at that point, all I wanted was for him to feel the same pain I felt. So when he finally asked the question I'd been waiting for, I still managed to fake some genuine surprise. I asked him why he wanted me to sign over the house to him. After all, by owning it together, he already had a share of it, didn't he? He reassured me that there was no doubt about that, but he really wanted to be the sole owner of the house. He told me he had always planned to buy a house after we got married and live in it. While he appreciated that my grandmother had given us this one a few weeks ago, he realized that technically, it wasn't his. He wanted the house to be in his name, even if only for a few months, to fulfill his dream of owning the place where he lived. He gave me his best argument, saying that all he wanted was to be able to say, "I'm the owner of the house I live in." Honestly, if I hadn't known what he was plotting, I probably would have said yes right then, but to keep up my act, I told him I'd think about it. He knows I never make impulsive decisions, so he happily agreed to wait. After a day, I told him I was only making him wait for fun, and that I really didn't care since we were going to be together forever. I told him I trusted him completely. It was the first time I saw a hint of guilt on his face, but he quickly recovered and assured me he'd never leave me. I had already prepared some fake papers that looked real enough for him to believe them. I was terrified when he started reading them, but in the end, he told me he trusted me and signed them without question, convinced that he was now the owner of the house. That was yesterday, and guess what I did today? I'm pretty sure that in a few days Alex will try to kick me out or finally tell me the truth, so I wanted to make sure everything was ready, and by everything I mean ensuring everyone else knew what was going on. This morning I asked my parents, my in-laws, and Cassie's parents to meet with me privately. I didn't tell anyone else, but I shared the whole truth with them and showed them the evidence of what had been happening in my own home. They were all shocked. Just like me, they struggled to believe it at first, but once they did, they were furious. They wanted to confront Alex and Cassie right then and there, but I asked them to wait. I want Alex and Cassie to think they've won, to take this to the very end so I can cause them as much pain as possible. I begged everyone to hold off until Alex made his move, which I believe will be soon. So hopefully, in just a few days, he'll either kick me out or finally confess. If all goes as planned, it'll be sweet revenge. Update 3. I know it's been a few months, and I apologize for the delay. So I'll get straight to what happened with Alex and Cassie. 2 days after my last update, Cassie arrived at my house with a bunch of her things. I asked her, "Cassie, what's going on?" She calmly replied that she was moving in. I acted a little confused and she just laughed, telling me the house was no longer mine and that she would now be the permanent resident. I told her to stop acting, and she had the audacity to tell me to call Alex. Before I could, Alex came home from running some errands and looked a bit surprised to see Cassie there. I think this wasn't part of their plan, at least, not yet. But since the secret was out, Alex told me he was kicking me out, and that Cassie was moving in. He put on this sad guy act, explaining that he was leaving me for her. I laughed in his face. I told him to stop acting because I'd known what was going on all along. He'd been a fool to believe me, just as I had been foolish to believe in him. Then I called everyone. Within minutes, my parents, my in-laws, and Cassie's parents arrived at the house. Alex and Cassie were shocked to see them there and even more surprised to find out that everyone knew about their little plan. My father-in-law immediately slapped Alex across the face, telling him he wasn't the son he had raised. Cassie's mother did the same, asking how she could betray someone who was like a sister to her. Cassie got defensive and said that she and Alex were going to live together, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. That's when I dropped the bombshell. I laughed and told her the house was still mine, I had never given it to Alex. The color drained from her face. Alex immediately realized I had tricked him. He started begging for forgiveness, but I slapped him and threw him out. Cassie left on her own after realizing she might face the same fate. It felt so good to give them a taste of their own medicine, lies, and betrayal. I know some people might not approve of my revenge and say I should have just confronted them, but now I not only have my revenge but I also have proof of their infidelity, which will ensure Alex gets nothing in the divorce, and neither will Cassie. Update 4. I don't know how many months it's been since my update about the revenge on my ex-husband and ex-friend, but it's been long enough for everything to be over. After that, everything fell apart for them both. It was a series of unfortunate events. Alex was kicked out of his parents' house where he'd been staying for a few weeks, and his parents disinherited him. They initially accepted him because he was their son, but after seeing that he was still with Cassie despite everything he had caused, his parents took extreme measures. As for me, I divorced him, and he got nothing. It's great to live in a state where cheaters pay, or rather where their spouses don't have to pay. When he realized he wouldn't get anything, he came back several times, begging for help. He claimed he had left Cassie, but I told him I didn't care anymore, and that I would call the police if he showed up again. As for Cassie, she lost her job. It turns out she worked for her uncle, and when he found out what she had done, he fired her. Her parents also disowned her, and when she kept begging them for help, they told her they would only forgive her if I did. She didn't come to apologize to me, but she didn't need to for me to feel better. Knowing her life is miserable now is enough for me. I guess they should have thought about what they were doing when they were plotting behind my back. They only came asking for help when everything fell apart. Now, I want to respond to a comment I received that made me angry because of how absurd it was. The comment said, "I think you went too far with this. Yes, your husband and the jealous friend deserved what happened to them, but you shouldn't have done it. You should have been the bigger person and let them live happily. I'm not saying you should have given them the house, but you could have just kicked him out and divorced him. That way, he could have married her and made a life together if the jealous friend really loved him, which I doubt. By doing what you did, you lowered yourself to their level. Does that make you a better or worse person than them?" I think it's an interesting point, and some people agreed with it. However, the majority said I didn't lower myself to their level at all. None of this would have happened if Alex hadn't been a cheater trying to trick me into giving him the house. I only reacted to what they did to me. I wasn't the one who started all this. So, what do you think? Does this make me the same as them or not? Update 5. I'm glad that many people enjoyed hearing about my revenge. It seems there are a lot of people out there who like seeing those who betray others get what they deserve. But this update goes beyond that and has to do with something Molly recently told me. And, as you can imagine, Cassie is far from giving up. It seems her obsession with destroying anything I touch is still going strong, and now she's tried something new, something I never thought she'd be capable of, trying to steal Molly from me. Let me tell you how it started. Molly and Cassie happened to run into each other at the mall a few days ago. Molly called me right after it happened because what occurred was surreal. Picture this, Molly was calmly shopping, and suddenly, there was Cassie, my ex-friend, the traitor, the woman who betrayed me with Alex. According to Molly, Cassie wasted no time approaching her and starting a casual conversation, as if nothing had happened. I suppose in her mind she thought Molly would be open to talking to her, but Cassie clearly doesn't understand who she's dealing with. Cassie began by telling Molly that her relationship with Alex was over, and that she'd been feeling a bit lonely lately. She said she was shopping that day to cheer herself up, as if shopping could erase the disaster she created in her life. Cassie even told her that her parents had cut her off, essentially choosing our family friendship over her. Molly of course wasn't swayed by her victim act and responded without hesitation, maybe they did that because what you did isn't something a good person would do, let alone someone you'd want in your family. Naturally, Cassie didn't take that well, and true to form, started justifying herself, saying her parents didn't reject her for her actions, but because they valued other people's friendships over their own daughter. Even after everything she's done, she insists she's the victim. According to Cassie, her parents don't care about her, and now she's learning to live with that, with parents who don't care about their daughter. After dropping that gem, Cassie decided it was time to attack me, because of course, it wouldn't be a conversation with Cassie if she didn't try to blame me for something. She told Molly that I had been a bad friend, because I couldn't handle Alex choosing her over me. Imagine Molly's face when she heard that. Not only that, but Cassie claimed that I'd always been very competitive, and that everything that happened was because I was jealous that my ex-husband found a better woman in her. But Molly, being the queen she is, didn't hesitate to put her in her place. She immediately replied that it was impossible for me to be jealous of Cassie for stealing Alex, because there was absolutely nothing good about having that man as a partner. And it's true, he became a burden, and she did me a favor by taking him off my hands. Here's where the conversation got interesting. Suddenly, Cassie changed her tone and agreed, admitting Alex wasn't worth it. But Molly didn't fall for her game. She told me that everything Cassie was saying was pure convenience. Now that Alex has nothing left to take from me, no house, no money, no husband, the only thing left for her to try and take is Molly. But as we all know, that's not going to happen. Cassie, in a desperate attempt to have some sort of connection with someone, invited Molly out for drinks, as if they were old friends. But Molly didn't bite for a second. She replied with something that makes me so proud of this girl. I'm loyal to Amara. I can't betray someone who is loyal to me for someone who enjoys stabbing others in the back. Cassie of course didn't know how to handle that blow. She got defensive and, in an attempt to be intimidating, told Molly, watch out because other girls' boyfriends tend to like me. What Cassie didn't know was that Molly wouldn't be intimidated by high school level threats. Without hesitation, Molly responded with all the strength that defines her, you won't be around to try, because you're not part of my life. And if you do try, I guarantee my fist will be pretty close to your face. Cassie, according to Molly, walked away looking a bit shaken. Honestly, I couldn't be prouder to have someone like Molly by my side. She not only stood up for me, but also gave Cassie a dose of reality that she surely won't forget anytime soon. If Cassie thought she could come back into my life and take something else from me, she's very wrong. Molly is with me, and unlike Cassie, she knows what it means to be a true friend.